Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our Saturday conversation. A warm welcome back to Julie Francis, who's part of the congregation at Hyde Church. This is sort of a part two from a conversation that Julie had with Kate earlier on in the year, and one or two other things I thought it might be interesting to explore with Julie. We're in this Advent season. It's a season of watching and waiting and looking forward. And particularly want to think about things pastoral this morning with Julie. So, Julie, I know you had a rather strange route into how you got into pastoral care, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I was asked, my sister at the time was a manager with Salisbury Hospital, and she asked me if I could go along and take some sort of press photographs for the Shooting Stars appeal, as it was at the time. And so I went along for that, and that's where I got introduced to a lady who was part of the chaplaincy team. And I got chatting and I said, yes, I'm looking for some voluntary work. I rather thought I would knit some hats or something for the baby care unit or something like that. And we got chatting, and she mentioned that they were always looking for people to join the chaplaincy team. And I hadn't really thought of it, because I thought you had to be ordained to be part of the chaplaincy team. And then I found out, no, you don't. So that was my introduction, you know, into the hospital, you know, and then there was an induction process. The whole thing took about 3 months, because obviously you've got to be vetted. That can take quite a while. And you're given training and so on. And then, of course, navigating your way around Salisbury Hospital on different wards and floors, which I've probably forgotten now, because since COVID, I haven't really, you know.
I've got the hang of Salisbury.
Yes, yeah.
Southampton Hospital was great because it was all numbered. You were either east or west, and everything was complicated. But anyway, but I think at that point you were perhaps, as it were you kind of in between belonging to one of our church congregations then?
Yes, I did attend St Mary's some years ago, and sang with Laudamus under the late Andrew Johnson as director of music there. And I sort of drifted away from that, sadly. And I started my training with the chaplaincy, and John, the chaplain at the time, I gather he's retired now, but he said to me, which church do you belong to? And I said, well, I don't. And he just looked at me and said, you don't belong to a church? I said, well, not currently. Oh no, my dear, you must go back. So it rather prodded me in the direction I was always destined to go, to be honest with you. So I ended up at Hyde. That was by accident, because I went to St Mary's and found that there wasn't a service on, or I'd missed it or whatever. And I met a lady who said, if you hurry up, you can get to Hyde for the 10 o'clock. I didn't even know there was a church at Hyde. I'd lived there, 25 years I've lived here, and I didn't even know Hyde existed. So followed these directions, just about made it by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah, you couldn't find the church at all. You didn't know where it was.
Yes, no, I know. I followed these directions and got there, and the rest is history. You know, it's all rather been fast tracked. You know, because I'm on the LCC, and you know, have you know, done lots of things. Yes, and it just shows you that, you know, when God's not going to let you go when you're one of His. You might go off for a bit of a sabbatical for a while, but He's having you back, whether you like it or not.
I remember the first time we met, which was just standing by the font at the back of Hyde Church. And I think, because I'm not often at Hyde as much as I'd like to be, because Michael and Kate look after Hyde. But there was some Sunday, probably not long after you started, I guess, oh, hello, have we met before? And you said, right, Julie, I'm a volunteer chaplain at the hospital.
Yes.
I think you actually said then that you had to get a recommendation from the church to be part of the church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
So that will come back to chaplaincy, didn't it? But that also then you want to think about the Bishop's Commission for Mission, didn't it? The BCM pastoral.
Yes.
Which is probably, I can't remember how many years ago it was now. Is it 2 or 3 years?
During COVID, I mean, what happened was all the volunteers at the hospital couldn't go in. You know, it was only the employed chaplain. So, and we've been sitting in limbo, what feels like almost, well, I guess it must be almost 2 years. And I wanted to learn more about pastoral care. And that's when you talked to us about the BCM. And I thought this is the perfect opportunity. It was all on Zoom. It was a way to fill my time and to gain more tools to help me with, you know, with the pastoral care and the chaplaincy and general day-to-day life. And that was one of the best things I've ever done was the BCM. You know, I'm thinking I might like to do another one perhaps next year on something else.
Yes, there's quite a lot of people get addicted to them.
Yes. Yeah. But what we covered in the pastoral, so much of it is I can take with me back to the hospital, but in everyday general life as well. That, you know, it was so useful. I can't begin to tell you. You know,
what were the sort of things that you covered that you found helpful?
Families, for example, and the extent of the family that you know, you think families, so you automatically think parents, children, but of course it extends far beyond that with, you know, grandparents and the lonely, and thinking about, you know, people that live on their own. We covered bereavement. We touched on a little bit of mental health, but not too much, but just, you know, as an awareness, as we should do in this day and age. You know, all sorts of things. And also as a visitor, this is quite difficult to say, but as a visitor, you're helping people, but it's very hard to get emotionally involved, and you do have to maintain a certain amount of professionalism and not get too drawn in, because your heart would break all day long otherwise, you know. And there are, of course, other services available if you recognize that there may be an issue or a problem. There's other services that you can go to who are professional and can take it from there, you know. So that was good.
Yeah, and not everyone might know the BCM is structured with 2 Saturdays at the beginning and end, and then there are 6 midweek sessions, which I think even on the new BCMs that are starting in the spring, those are going to be online. I think the days will be in person, and the weekday evenings will be online. And BCMs cover all sorts of things like worship and pastoral care and children's and families worker. We've got a couple of people doing prayer champions at the moment, which are helping other people to pray. We've recently had some eco church BCMs helping us to think about the environment and how our churches engage with those sort of issues. So it's a fantastic programme.
Oh, it is.
We've got lots of people in this parish who've been on BCMs and really benefited from them.
Yes, and I think going to Winchester Cathedral for the sort of awards ceremony, that was fabulous, absolutely fabulous, to be able to go in for free. And worship.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Actually, everybody in our congregations can go in free. We're meant to have some tickets in the parish office that anyone can say, I'm a member of a church in the diocese, and they will let you in free. You might want to make a donation anyway, but it is nice to go in free.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great place. Yeah. So, and then you're now part of the pastoral team within the parish as well as at the hospital, aren't you?
Yes.
Kate heads up our pastoral care across the parish.
Yeah, yes, that's right. I'm part of Kate's team. The idea is that I'm the link between the parish as a whole, and that would include all of Avon Valley now, of course, and the hospital. So if any of, you know, our congregation go into hospital, then and they would like a visit from a chaplain, then, you know, I've got a hotline, if you like, and I can arrange for somebody to go and visit, you know, which is always a nice thing when you're on your own in hospital, particularly at the moment, because I think visiting hours are quite limited, and it's just nice, you know, to have someone pray with you and talk to you for a little while.
Yeah, it's been really important, especially over the last year or so, when we've not been able to do as much hospital, even ordained people like myself, not been able to do as much hospital visiting as we normally would. Knowing that the chaplains are there, and that's what they're there for, and that they are very, very open to going to see people. And they can either be contacted through me or through you, or even just going straight to the, you look on the website, you find the chaplaincy phone number, and you can say that my husband, mother, father, whoever's in hospital, could you just pop in and say hello to them, and they will.
Yes, there's a very good system. I mean, I only work at Salisbury, but I'm sure that it extends to other hospitals locally as well. But there's a very good system there. Quite often the office isn't manned, but when it is, they do pick up the messages and everything is logged. And if someone requests a visit, they are always visited, you know, guaranteed pretty much.
Yeah, and before pre-COVID, when you started doing some visiting, what sort of things did you find you were doing and talking about with patients?
Well, you know, you could go into a ward, and you know, the mixed ward, men's ward, women's ward, and you sort of, I would announce myself, hi, I'm Julie from the chaplaincy team, and I'd start individually. But you would find quite often you'd be having, somebody would say no, like this, and I'd say that's okay, that's okay, but I'm going to pray for you anyway. And they would always laugh at that, and then you would go to the next person and perhaps start having a conversation, depending if that person has a faith or not. And of course, it's not just Christianity, there are other faiths as well. But that's okay, you know, you sit and you talk to people. But you would find, I found quite often, that the person that was so against talking to it suddenly would start piping up. And I can remember one occasion, there were 4 of us having a real, it wasn't too deep, but, you know, talking about all the things these people wanted to talk about, Christianity and so on. And the people that are so against it end up joining in and so on. So that in itself, you know, is a fabulous outreach, you know. And then they would thank you at the end, oh, thanks for being so kind. And I thought, well, I haven't really done anything except listen to you, which is quite often the case. But so that's one of the things, is the visiting, you know, with a little prayer or blessing. I asked if somebody would like me to pray. Now, some of these people are at end of life, not all. Some are just in there very frightened, maybe their first time in hospital, away from their family, you know, all sorts of ages, young to the elderly, a real mixture. And then sometimes on a Wednesday morning, there'd be a service in the little chat, you know, with all the chaplains in there. And I would go and collect some people in a wheelchair, usually, because, you know, they're not supposed to walk. But if they wanted to get out of bed and just have a change of scenery, then, you know, take them down, and where we have communion, quite small. But interestingly, a lot of the hospital staff would attend that as well. And, you know, sometimes you think, is this just for patients? But it isn't, it's for staff. And there have been occasions where, and it was quite heart-wrenching, you'd see somebody in their scrubs come in on their knees, really very emotional, through something that had happened through their work, and they needed a few moments, you know, of prayer. So it's for everybody. So the service on Wednesday is attended by all, about 30 minutes or something, and then you take the patients back to the ward. Very rewarding, very rewarding.
I think hospitals are very real places, just because you can float through life, but if you've got a serious illness, if you're in hospital for something, it does make you think, doesn't it? And I found you might go visit one person in a ward who I've been asked to go and see, but then you get into conversation with others, and sometimes there are quite serious things people want to talk about, because they can't really talk with their families, because the families are too upset about things.
Yes,
It's like an outside listening ear sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I've also been in and visited some people in custody, you know, in handcuffs actually. And I know one of the I say clergy, of a vicar that I was with once, and I used to be a special constable for about 5 years, so I've arrested people and seen it from the other side, in, you know, historically. And I thought, you know, these people they deserve a visit just like everybody else. You know, you have to treat everybody the same. And one particular person, they just wanted a book to read, and it could be a simple thing like that. And the clergy that I was with had never approached anybody in, you know, handcuffs before. But that has to disappear. And this person just wanted a book to read. So I went off, found a book, came back and said, would you like a little prayer? And I was fully expecting to be told to get on my bike. But to my delight, yes, I would love that. And, you know, so you do, it's the way you approach. It can start off with the most simplest things, and if you've prayed for somebody and just had those few moments, then, you know, it's worth everything to me. I think, you know, it's accomplished, you know, because I just believe I'm there as God's disciple, and a vessel and a channel really to give people some form of comfort, you know, peace, make them feel better, pray, all of those things.
Yeah, quite right. We're just there to use, aren't we? Whatever way people want to when we're doing that situation. But it's been really interesting, Julia. Thank you. And one of the things I hope you might take away, one is that actually pastoral care is for everybody. We're all involved in pastoral care in our daily lives, caring for families, friends, neighbours, all that sort of stuff. But some people will be called to perhaps a sort of slightly deeper engagement with pastoral care. And it's wonderful that across this parish we've got such a good group of pastoral carers led by Kate. And would welcome more, of course, just as because we don't just care for people from church, we care for people in the wider community who are referred to us as well. That's really good. And I think reflecting on the work in hospital as well, and on hospital chaplains and what they do, and not forgetting that they're there. So if either we're in hospital or we know somebody who is, don't be afraid to call on the chaplains who are there supporting. So that's great. And I think you've got one of the prayers that you sometimes use with patients, haven't you? You're going to share with us.
Yes, this is, I carry this with me because I don't know them all off by heart. At my age, my memory would never remember them. But I keep these, and sometimes, you know, we'll read from them, and depending on the situation and the conversation I've had. But this is one of my favourites that I like to read to people. May you know the Lord is with you. Let him lead you daily into the quiet places of your heart, where he will speak with you. Know that he loves you. He watches over you. He listens to you in gentle understanding, that he is with you always, wherever you are and however you may feel. And may the blessing of God be yours forever. Amen.
Thank you. That's a lovely prayer. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Julie. We're here every day at 10 o'clock. We're streaming service tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon at Hale Church, I'm leading a concert, an event concert, to which people are welcome. Tickets available on the door at 4 o'clock at Hale. And we're here every day. So I wish you all a very happy rest of Saturday and happy Advent as we go towards Christmas. And thanks again, Julie.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.